So it kind of seems like in the desert it might be appropriate to do cowboy recipes, right? So instead of doing a regular stir fry, today we are going to be doing a cowboy stir fry. And the first time that I tested this recipe, I wasn't sure. We had guests around and I gave them a pile of recipes and I said, pick what you want for dinner tonight. To my shock, they picked this one and I was kind of a little nervous about it because I hadn't made it before. I was just in the testing phase, but guess what? It went over like gangbusters. Everybody loved it. And so I'm making it again for Pete and I tonight as we're camping here again in the KOFA National Wildlife Refuge. We have some kielbasa sausage here and some potatoes that are nice and thinly sliced, a little bit of onion and some bell pepper. You can use whatever color bell pepper you want, and then a little bit of seasoning. And one of the secret ingredients is just using Italian salad dressing. There is so much flavor in an Italian salad dressing. I love using this stuff to marinate either chicken or beef. It's really great for that. It's also good when you're doing some kind of a Blackstone thing where you're adding a little bit of liquid and a little bit of flavor out of a bottle that is already done for you. So that's really nice. And you know I love cooking on the Blackstone, and one of the reasons is because it is so easy to clean. So I've got it preheating right now. We want this to be at a medium-high heat, so I think that we're pretty good at staying there because we've got just a light breeze today and it's not super cold out here. So I'm going to go ahead and let that heat up and then we'll start cooking. I'm going to start by putting just a little bit of olive oil on the griddle. And then we're going to put the potatoes on. I am going to go ahead and measure this just because it's a little bit easier to make sure that what I'm telling you is completely accurate. We're going to layer all of these potatoes in a single layer, and we're going to give them a head start in cooking because everything else cooks a lot faster than the potatoes. So you know I said that this surprised me when our friends picked this recipe out of a whole bunch of other ones that I was offering them to have for the night, and they're kind of healthy people, and so I was really surprised because they actually brought hot dogs to make for themselves. And I laughed and I was like, I figured you guys for, you know, like a little healthier. And they said, well, we brought hot dogs. It's the closest thing to hot dogs. And when we're camping, that's when we kind of splurge and have stuff that tastes good, but maybe isn't the healthiest for you. So, you know, everybody needs a splurge once in a while, right? So this is definitely not like a regular stir fry where you've got some good vegetables like, you know, broccoli and carrots and, you know, things like that. So these veggies are filled with a lot of starch. Definitely not the healthiest meal that you're going to eat for the week, but it is super tasty and it's definitely a crowd pleaser. We're here at KOFA National Wildlife Refuge after we just left our Grand Design Quartzsite Rally, and that was over at the Roadrunner 14-day BLM camping area. We had a really great time. If you haven't seen the video on that rally, I'll leave a link for that in the description below. I had a little speaking session about camp cooking and stuff. That was really fun, and the whole event was just a blast. We met a lot of new people, saw a lot of old friends, and it was just a really great time. All right, now that these are pretty much in a single layer, there's some that are overlapping a little bit because of my little 17-inch Blackstone, but it works. So I'm going to go ahead and add my onions and then my spices. I have clean hands. I did all of my prep inside. It makes things really simple to prep inside and cook outside. I love doing that when I have the ability to do that. It was so darn cold here the other night. We ended up eating inside as well, but we're starting a little bit earlier and it's a little warmer today, so it's going to be a great day to cook outside and eat out here. You know, a lot of times I cook with fresh garlic, but there are other times that I actually use garlic salt, and that's what I'm using today. It's a great thing to cook with when you're kind of worried about real fresh garlic burning, which this would have the tendency to do here. I'm smelling this, and I know I'm going to need to turn that pretty soon, so I'm going to turn that down and catch up with my cooking. So I need 2 teaspoons of garlic salt, And if I'm using garlic salt, that means I don't have to use regular salt. If I was using garlic powder, I'd be adding a little bit of salt too, but this is kind of a 2-in-1, makes it nice and simple. And then I'm using a teaspoon of just black pepper. This is plain black pepper. Sprinkle it all over there. Now I want to cook this for about 5 minutes before I do anything else. I'm going to close that lid, let it cook for 5 minutes. I sliced my potatoes a little bit earlier, so you know, if your potatoes sit too long, they're going to start to get that kind of like that kind of pinkish color, and you can actually slice potatoes like a day in advance if you want to, and just hold them in the refrigerator in water, and they are perfect. Then you just kind of dry them out a little bit, but you know, get them out of the water, dry them out a little bit before you put them on the grill, because otherwise you're going to have them steaming instead of getting that nice char on them. The other thing that I also wanted to mention is, if you don't want to be totally cowboy and you're willing to have a little bit of green on the side, this is a great meal if you want to serve like green beans or Brussels sprouts that are grilled or something like that. That's a really nice side dish for this if you want to add a healthier vegetable. All right, we are 5 minutes past. I'm going to go ahead and open this up, see how things look, and I'm going to flip the potatoes, let them cook for another 5 minutes before I add anything else to the griddle. And you know, if you don't have one of these little dams here that lets your oil go through but not your food, you need to get one of those. That was my second favorite Christmas present this year that Pete got for me, and it's really handy, especially when you're working on one of these smaller Blackstones, because you just don't have as much cooking surface, and it's easy to kind of flip stuff and lose it down that drain hole in the back. I'm going to go ahead and close that lid, let that cook a little bit more, and I got to tell you that we are both starving. This meal is supposed to feed 4 people, and it absolutely will, especially if you do a vegetable on the side. But Pete and I worked up quite the appetite because we did some really nice walking through the desert. We didn't do an actual trail, but there's a lot of trails that are out there that are made by the animals that live in the National Wildlife Refuge. And so you can see a lot of them are, you can tell that they're kit foxes. We saw a lot of droppings from like deer, and I don't think the bighorn sheep, I don't know if they actually come out of the mountains much, but there was evidence of a whole lot of wildlife that hangs out and, you know, spends time out in the flatland of the desert at night. And so we saw some beautiful scenery. The mountains were gorgeous. The desert is starting to get a little bit greener. Right now we are here in, it's almost Valentine's Day. It is mid-February, and so it's not been a really wet winter. The green desert and how the desert really comes alive in the spring, we're expecting that there will be a lot more color in March and April when that normally happens, but probably not as vibrant as it was like last year, where we had a ton of rain in the winter season. So, but it still is, you can tell we're starting to change the season as things are warming up a little bit, and you're going to start to see a lot more color in the desert as we are camping here through the end of winter and into the beginning of spring. Take a look at how things are going in here. And if you happen to notice that some of your potatoes or your onions are starting to get a little more brown than others, you just kind of want to move those around a little bit. Nothing is really getting burnt. But now I'm going to go and actually kind of toss this more like a stir fry. I'm going to there I go with my 17-inch griddle. Pete's going to do a taste test. You do the 5-second rule in your family. 5 seconds if it hits the floor, if it's on the floor for less than 5 seconds, or if it's on the tabletop for less than 5 seconds, it's still considered clean enough to eat. That's kind of what we do. And when Pete's taking video and getting hungry and getting impatient that it's not ready yet, he likes to do a little taste test off the griddle or the table if I drop something there. Measure my 1/2 cup of Italian salad dressing, and I don't like to use the creamy. I like to use just the regular Italian, and this is a zesty Italian, but whatever you have on hand works. It's got enough different seasonings and flavors in there to make it just a really easy flavor and moisture to add to the griddle. So now I'm going to go ahead and add in the kielbasa sausage, and that's already cooked all the way through, so we're not really worried about cooking that. We're just heating it up. And I had that out as I was prepping all of my vegetables and the meat and everything. So it's been out on the countertop for a little bit. And so it is still slightly cool, but it's not real cold straight out of the refrigerator. So it's gonna be able to heat up faster on the griddle here. And then I'm gonna add my bell peppers. I'm putting this stuff on here. I can't forget to add my Italian dressing to it, and that's going to give me that steam that I want. And I'm going to be able to toss everything all together now. We're doing a stir fry, and just like when you do stir fry with, you know, like a Chinese stir fry, you want that sizzle, because that is what's helping to give you that texture that you're looking for. So I'm going to keep that up on a medium-high heat, and I'm going to close this lid to trap in a little bit more heat, and we're going to work to get these other vegetables softened a little bit, and then get the meat nice and warm through. I'm going to close the lid again. I should only need to cook this for about 5 more minutes and we'll be ready to eat. That's how fast it is. So seriously, it's like a 15-minute cook time. It's about a 15-minute prep time. You know, you're chopping not a ton of vegetables or slicing the meat, but you know, it takes about 15 minutes. So you're really like a 30-minute meal, which is really nice when you've had a busy hike day and you don't have a lot of time to prep and cook your meals.
Is this going to be over rice?
No. So Pete likes a lot of carbs in his meal, so he would actually want this over rice, but there's already potatoes in there. And for cowboys eat potatoes, they don't eat rice. So I'm sticking with the cowboy theme. But if you got somebody in your family like Pete who likes rice too, which he does, then you can also serve it over rice. And do you want me to go get some rice? Okay, I'm gonna let that continue to cook. I'm gonna be right back with some rice. You notice I didn't panic when Pete said that he wanted rice, and that's because when I do rice, it happens super, super fast. The reason that it is the case is because I like using the 90-second rice that you get at the grocery store, or this one we actually get at Costco. I like this one because it's quinoa and brown rice, and it's got a little bit of garlic flavor in there too. So instead of heating this up in the microwave, I'm just going to heat it on the Blackstone. These sausages, I like doing them in little coins, kind of like between a half to a quarter of an inch thick, because I like as much surface on them as possible, so I get as much char on them as possible. If you do bigger chunks, you know, you can certainly do that, but it takes a little bit longer for them to heat through, and then also you're not going to get as much of a char and a nice crispy texture on them if you do that. I'm going to break up my rice, my pre-cooked rice in this bag. This stuff is like magic. I really love this stuff. You know, Pete and I are big eaters. And so when we do something with a bag of rice with, you know, a protein with it, we will usually, between the two of us, eat this entire bag. But for normal people who don't eat as much as we do, this will definitely feed 3 or 4 as kind of a, you know, smaller side dish. I won't eat this tonight because I've got the potatoes. I'm going to be like a real cowboy. So you know, we come down here to KOFA. It's called KOFA, KOFA, KOFA National Wildlife Refuge, and it stands for King of Arizona. And it is one of the prettiest deserts. We have camped in deserts. We live in the Phoenix metro area, and obviously we live in the desert, and there are pretty desert spots all over the place, but this is by far one of the prettiest ones that that we enjoy camping in. And it's just amazing to me that this is like 14 days for free. If you want to know where we are and how to get here, I will link a video in the description below so that you can find this place if you want to check it out and come here yourself. But here's the deal. If you come here and we come driving up and you're in our favorite spot, then we'll ask you to just move over a little bit so that we can join you. I don't know. It was funny. Our friends that showed up that brought their own hot dogs and weren't planning on, having us feed them. We said, absolutely not. We've got plenty of food. You guys are eating with us. And so they were really happy that they didn't have to eat their hot dogs after all, even though this was kind of the closest thing to a hot dog with this sausage. They said that this was a whole lot better than what they had brought with them to eat. So they went home with their hot dogs. I don't know if they ate them at home, but they never ate them here. This is looking really good. So this is ready to go. I am going to now pile this up and kind of move it over to the side a little bit so that I can get this Pete's special request and get his rice cooking over here. I'm going to do the same thing with that rice. I'm just going to lay it here on the griddle surface and heat it up. I'll put it in one single layer. It heats up faster that way. This is so much nicer than when you have to actually cook rice. I will say that this can have a tendency to stick on the griddle a little bit. So if it does, I'm going to just shoot it with a little bit of water. But right now, I'm going to just kind of break up all those chunks, put it in a single layer here, so it has as much grill contact as possible, and that just takes a couple of minutes to heat up. All right, let's shoot it with a teens of water. Let it steam up. I'll close that lid, let it steam up, and we'll be ready to serve. So if you want this recipe, I will leave a link to the recipe, and it is printable on my website. I'll leave a link in the description below for that. And if you have any favorite recipes that you like on the Blackstone, I would love to hear about them. I've been doing so much Blackstone cooking, and that's just because when we're boondocking, we use like next to no water to clean this thing, and it's just so easy to use and clean, and it's just like my favorite appliance, my favorite camping appliance at this point right now. So anyway, I'd love to hear what you're making. This rice smells so good. It's amazing because it's got that garlic flavor in there. I love that it's organic. Now, obviously I'm offsetting the organic rice with the kielbasa sausage, but every once in a while, it's a combination of not so healthy with a little more healthy. Balances out pizzas, yeah. So I am going to take just this, and I'm going to let his rice continue to cook there. And this is my portion of dinner. So I'm looking for a nice soft potato, soft to cut, but it's got that nice crispy edge. This is going to be really hot, so I'm going to hesitate on putting it into my mouth at this moment. And ooh, it's hot on the bottom of this camping plate too. But in every bite, I want to get a little bit of the peppers, the potato, and the sausage. And of course, the onion is kind of just mixed in with everything. So let's check it out. Yes, are we ready? Smells good. Is it going to burn me? I don't know. That's a good one. It's really hot. I hope you try this one. If you do, let me know if you like it. I'll talk to you again soon. Bye-bye.